My name's Huw Scott, and I'm working with a drone company here in Stavanger. We're a startup, 2 years old now, so we're getting quite serious about what we're doing. And we're looking at how to use drones in early intervention for emergency medicine. Very briefly, we've been established for 2 years. We've been supported by Innovation Norway in a lot of what we're doing. We have a core team of 3 full-time staff and 3 consultants as well who help us with engineering design, HSE, and business development. The founders, typically a drone company tends to come upwards from the pilots. We have a top-down approach, 30 years in aviation, 23 in oil and gas, 15 years in crisis management, and business development as well. It helps us to talk to the clients up top to get an idea of what's needed before we actually develop the technology, rather than developing technology blind and then seeing if it's needed. Myself, I'm the Chief Technical Officer. My background actually started with physiotherapy, cardiothoracic in particular, and emergency medicine. And then I qualified with aerospace medicine, and in that there was a lot about remote medicine and remote intervention and telemedicine. It's very difficult to get a doctor up to the International Space Station. So it's quite applicable to what we're talking about today. And then in the last 5 years, I've been working with subsea engineering, and again with remote communications and automation. And I've had a little bit of experience with building remote control airplanes. We have a vision in the company that drones, the word drone tends to be associated with weaponization. A lot of the history of drones has been in taking lives, and we intend to move the vision across to saving lives. There is a worldwide potential for the implementation of unmanned systems, and it's across many industries, not just the medical industry. And it's synergistic with a lot of new technologies that are coming out now. A lot of lightweight systems, miniaturization of technology, which enables them to be put on more lightweight systems. And we see that, just to name a few, telemedicine, search and rescue, medical deliveries, and also urban logistics are all sectors within healthcare where we believe unmanned systems can make a big impact. We were guided to make a personal story a little bit, or to link this with a personal experience. So for me, I am actually quite a lucky survivor. I was injured very badly in a road traffic accident when I was 17, and I was as good as dead, if we be honest about it. I had a fractured femur and a torn femoral artery, so I was bleeding out and I had about 3 minutes to live. What saved me was a time factor. It just so happened to be that in 2 cars behind me was a doctor, off duty, but he knew exactly what to do to prevent massive blood loss. So he put a tourniquet on me. And there just so happened to be an ambulance on patrol 7 minutes away. Another factor which saved my life. I was very lucky as well. I did technically drift in and out a little bit in the ambulance. The important message here is that unmanned systems off the roads, away from traffic, away from congestion, with immediate deployment capabilities can save time. We have a lot of advanced systems to choose from. We are looking at one here, which is a hybrid drone, which doesn't need a runway, doesn't need a catapult or a capture system. It can take off vertically and land vertically, but once it's in the air, it converts into a forward flight mode, and it's a dash and linger capable system. This can be deployed within seconds and on its way at 150 kilometers per hour to the incident. There are many different incidents to consider. Not all of them will necessarily be suitable for the unmanned systems, but if we take a case in point of a large road traffic accident, and we have a person calling in who probably isn't qualified at all in any medical sense, talking to a dispatch center, and we are trying to imagine this future vision of how an unmanned system could be at that site within minutes, at least giving metadata or an overview of the situation to the primary responders who are en route to that disaster or to that problem. And there are many different payloads here which can help, whether it's just cameras or infrared sensors or some telemedical contact with those first response teams. And it allows situational assessment in a way which hasn't been so available to first responders up to now. Triage saves lives. It's a prioritization. It requires professionals to be there. It requires assessment by people who know exactly how to triage. If you have someone there who's a member of the public, they don't know how to perform this. They might be in a mode of panic. Can they do anything without instruction Most likely not. If you connect that person with somebody directly who knows how to start this triage process, then you're changing the situation. So remote assessment can begin within seconds of the unmanned system arriving. We have, like I said, many different payloads and sensors which can be used. A basic one is infrared. Infrared can tell you straight away the status of a patient, for the most part, fairly accurately. And you can also spot bleeding, for example, even at nighttime. You can also deliver devices to those public responders, or in my case, it might have been a doctor who was actually on the scene, but his equipment is not in the car. He is standing there wishing, or she is wishing, that she could do more. But without equipment, she's very limited, or he's very limited in what she can do, or he can do. This can change. You can support these first responders with equipment which can then be connected directly to the unmanned system, and high rates of data can be pulled out within seconds. And so you can begin this triage process, this prioritization process, before those first responders even arrive. We have to consider that it will not always be on an open road. It will not always be a simple case of flying over the top and gathering this information. Perhaps it's even difficult to land. If there's unstable structures, if there's explosive gases in the area, if there's an extremely remote location or limited access to the site. You lose time in this process. There is a golden hour of patient survival, and every minute counts, and we know this. So we are trying to bring to the table specialized unmanned systems for special applications. On the top, we have a gas-proof unmanned system, which we're developing now, in order to be able to go into explosive environments without risking further life. We have a ground-crawling UAV, which can also fly, for enabling access to restricted locations, such as underground or within a collapsed building. We have the hybrid vertical takeoff and landing system, which I described earlier, able to dash and linger around an incident. And at the bottom here is a heavy lift, high-endurance UAV, which we're developing in conjunction with Dronera over in Oslo. And finally, we are looking at hangar solutions. If we know that there is a particular danger spot, if we wish to be prepared for the incidents that might arise, why send the drone from another location when the drone could already be on site waiting to respond? These are self-sufficient hangars which can be off the grid for months at a time, powered by hydrogen fuel cells or solar panels, and at the click of a button, the drone can deploy and begin gathering that critical data. We are aware, with our background in crisis management, that data overload is the most counterproductive thing that you can put a human through. We are trying to work hard, or we are working hard, trying to identify what data is needed, when, how, where. And it's important to discuss this all the time with the service users. And we are looking to centralize data as much as possible. It's all well and good having multiple systems, but if that data is scattered across control centers or response units, it's very hard to consolidate it into usable information that actually saves lives. And so we're looking to develop platforms either that can be installed or to integrate into existing control centers. And we are in an age now where more and more control centers are coming up across various industries. The centralization of data, the automation of systems. And we're also developing simulation and training platforms to enable first responders and service users to practice and to run scenarios before the actual incident in order to refine their techniques and to identify the absolutely critical data, which is important at the different stages. We understand that communications is often a challenge. We've had some talk today about latency in communications, that bandwidth is getting better, latency is still an issue. And also, if you are deep in the mountains, your radio contact is most likely being disrupted. So we work with a satellite technology partner who's able to bring image data, selective image data from any site in the world at a reduced cost as well, using some very smart software. And we're also looking to secure access to the 4G and future 5G networks in order to have a wider infrastructure based around the systems. There are a number of challenges ahead. One that I haven't listed here for starters is patient confidentiality. This is a big gray area, and often you have some very good ideas which are restricted by patient confidentiality laws. We are aware of them. We're trying to work with them, trying to understand how to protect patient information whilst also saving their lives. The healthcare industry can be considered conservative in some senses. It's an industry where they want proven technology that works, and you can risk life by bringing new technology which is not fully proven into the field. We are catering towards cost-saving industries, especially when you have state healthcare systems, rather than those which are putting a lot of money into R&D projects necessarily. So we have to consider that. A lot of discussion today about integration of robotics into human fields also. The medical industry is one of the most human fields out there, and there are many things to consider with human psychology when you start introducing robotic systems into these processes, not just for the patient, but for the workers too. And there's a lot to be done there. And also general UAV rules and regulations across Europe, across the world right now. These regulations are in a state of flux. It's early days. The commercialization of unmanned systems has happened quicker than most people expected. So we have a lot of work to do, but we are doing it one step at a time, and it seems to be paying off. Partnerships are extremely important to us, so we're working hard with a number of different partners and organizations to build up the ecosystem around unmanned systems. A lot of work to be done on infrastructure, but this is why the partnerships and the collaborations are very important to us. And that is the end of the talk. Thank you very much for your time tonight. 5 minutes of questions, I think.